So you guys really seem to like that first podcast that we put out. Josh over at Phantom Power Hour is taking care of everything. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a few minutes of basically every podcast while we get this thing up and running, because we just start posting podcasts over there. Nobody's going to see them until people start getting subscribed. So head on over to Phantom Power Hour. I'll put links down below. Go subscribe. Go like it so you don't miss one. But I'm going to put a couple minutes here of the conversation that we had that is much, much longer. So if you want to check out the whole thing, besides this little quick director's cut that Josh put together, go check it out on the channel there. So here is a quick little snippet of the conversation that we had. If you want to watch the whole thing, go to the channel, subscribe. Take it easy, guys.
How's your week been?
Good.
Been good? It's been a full 7 days since I saw you last.
Doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't. It feels like I was just here yesterday.
My wife's out on a business trip, so I'm like single parenting with a lot of help from grandparents and babysitters, but it's nice to have a partner helping. I'll say that.
I'm sure. When I have to take care of my dogs on my own, it feels like it's a hassle. I couldn't imagine human children.
I mean, I've had dogs too. Not much different. I'll say that.
Yeah.
You still got to feed them. They still want to go outside.
You have to feed them? I've been doing this all wrong.
We could say we settled on Phantom Power Hour.
That's true.
And this
Phantom
is the
Power Hour,
first
indeed.
one on the new channel.
Yep.
So you might see like shorts and stuff on my channel just to kind of help get this one off the ground going. But I think it's going to live here for now.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Tell all your
Power Hour
friends.
channel.
Tell your friends where to find us.
Yeah. And if you're a medium, tell your ghosts that they have good company over here. We could talk about kind of the whole debacle of, what's better, in-ears or wedges when you're playing live, whether as a player or if you're mixing a group. I know there's a few surface level, pretty apparent pros and cons from either perspective, but kind of just getting into the nitty gritty of what that means, especially if you're listening and you've never experienced in-ears, which is probably more likely than never experiencing monitors, right?
That's a big thing because I see it from two different perspectives, and I'd be interested to see your thoughts too. Because I look at it from a performer standpoint, because I do play every once in a while, not nearly as much as I used to, but I don't really like in-ears because I don't have a nice set of in-ears.
Right.
And I feel like if I had a better set, I would feel way more comfortable with the whole process. And I come from like playing in a really heavy band. And I like that instant feedback of having the amp behind me, which you can still do with an in-ear setup. But from a musician standpoint, I don't really like them. I understand the benefit, and I realize that there's way more benefits and more things that you can allow the engineer to do and clean up the stage, give a better experience for the audience overall in a certain context. Like
Right.
if you're talking like a very, very small bar show, maybe not, where there's not a whole lot of sound reinforcement anyway. But from the other side of it, from the engineer side, in-ears all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
it's just
hate dealing
easy.
with wedges.
For sure. Can we get a clip? I would love to just clip to you playing one of your old shows, playing some heavy stuff.
If you can find one.
By the way, before I even knew you, I saw you and your old band play way back in the day, years ago.
With Luke Fawcett and Nick Golder.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys. I haven't seen you guys in like 20 years.
It's been a while.
It's a song reference.
It's a song reference. Yeah, so I also don't love in-ears, and I think that is going to be the commonality for a lot of players, especially. They can feel very artificial. It can get muddy very quickly in your ears, especially if you haven't invested in a good set. I had a good set at one point and then lost them, and then realized, if I'm going to invest in another good set, I really need to make sure I don't lose them. But I've done some tours with the Wish.com variant of the Shure single driver in-ears. And let's be honest, man, it wasn't awful. I mean, they stayed in, the cables weren't detachable. I only spent $20. They ended up, the whole housing of the in-ears got crushed eventually, even in their case and stuff. But it lasted maybe a year and a half of touring and stuff. And
that's not bad return on investment, though.
Not at all.
I mean, if you're like a band touring and you're kind of doing your own sound and bringing your own stuff, a load-in with an in-ear rig is so easy.
When it works.
Yes, when it works. But I mean, you have the ability to put everything into one rack and everything's pre-wired. You can run your own personal mixer on stage, like with something like an X32 rack and splits off of like a transformer balance splitter. So essentially, instead of using the house snake wherever you are, you plug into yours and then use that house snake to come off of those splits. So the benefit there, you have the exact same mix every day. Every single day. And then the house engineer, wherever you are, can mix it however they want to.
That was my experience, that story earlier about needing replacement in-ears for the tour. That's exactly what our setup was. We had, I think it was either X16 or X32. So everybody could adjust their own mix on their phone or iPad or whatever.
Probably X16 Air.
I think that was what it was, yeah. And like you said, instead of using any kind of snake at all, everything just ran through this little, it was, I think, a 4U rack unit that we had because it held a laptop in there as well. Super rugged. As long as nothing got messed up cable-wise or unplugged or whatever, you pop it out, you power it on, you're good to go. Regardless of the venue size, the acoustics of the room, no matter what was going on, you would have the same mix.
Yeah.
And we ran with tracks and we had cues. If you are in the church scene, you know the chorus, 2, 3, 4. We had all those cues built in, everything.
I call her Angie.
Angie? That's a good name. Yeah. Does she have a list?
Okay. No, she just sounds like an Angie. Anytime you start running, I mean, and this is one of the nitpicky things, but I want to automate the process as much as possible. And if a band is going to come in and run their own wedges, okay, that's not bad. It limits you on what you can do from a band perspective, which then limits me on what I can do from an engineer perspective. I can only make your vocal so hot in that monitor. So which means you can only make your amp so hot on stage, which means the drummer has to shift where they're playing and those amps have to point in a certain direction. Like it starts to get, you're managing reflections and then how it sounds on stage as opposed to how it sounds in the audience.
Right.
So anywhere I can shift responsibility, which kind of sounds like a cop-out as an engineer, but I think it helps so much in a few different ways. If you're responsible for your own mix, of course I'll help you if there's something wrong. And I think that's the big point too. Like if you're even in a church setting, like people want to not use ears because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to mix. And I run into that a lot. And that's a big topic probably for another discussion. Maybe it's here. I don't know. But there's a certain amount of responsibility that person then takes on themselves for their own mix and their own performance, because so much of what you hear is subjective. That'll affect your performance. That'll affect how I'm mixing you. And any ability to get that on you is beneficial to both of us, I think.
Sure.
Because you can get what you want faster. And I have the ability to push your vocal way louder in the house now because I don't have to worry about feedback as much. I still have to worry about it, but there's a whole lot of variables that aren't there anymore. Oh.
And, that just is my story about accidents happen, dumb stuff happens, and the venue could have been super mad at us. The engineer could have yelled at us. They could have shut down the show. They could have done a lot of things. But we were kind, super apologetic. They were understanding. And thankfully I had a DI on my board. So I just swapped the XLR in there and we kept going. But stuff happens and you just got to be empathetic and considerate of people if you want to make a good impact in the community and kind of put your best foot forward. You got anything else to say, Jeremy, before we sign off of here?
No. We had some phantom power. Well, actually not. We're on dynamic mics.
That's true. Oh man, already misrepresenting the brand. I have a ghost, so that's almost a phantom. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out the new channel. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button for all the future episodes, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.